Hey guys, it's Ashley and welcome to the first video that I've uploaded in quite some time. If you're watching this video when I just put it out, I took a little bit of a break, as a lot of you probably know and noticed, just because I felt like a lot of my creativity had been kind of sapped from me. The more that I tried to put effort into making videos, the less enthusiastic I felt about it, and so I just decided the best thing for me would just to be to take a break, to get some time away from creating and editing and constantly having to think about this. And then when I came back, I was hoping I would feel a little bit better, and I think I am, so I'm trying to start making more videos again to see what's gonna happen. So this video is going to be all about what I am currently reading and or what I previously read while I had taken my little break, and what I'm looking forward to reading in the future. So without further ado, let's get started. So first I want to talk about the books that I recently read, and this first book slash series, because the series isn't finished yet, I started buddy reading with a friend who is not on book 2 and does not normally read, but I convinced her to do this with me because she really wanted to start reading, and we both ended up going with Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, which is not a book that I would have normally picked up because you guys know that I'm not a huge thriller mystery sort of fan, but this book was so good. If you follow me on Instagram, I did post about it, and so you guys know that I've loved this book, but I haven't talked about it on my channel yet, so here it is. I really loved this book. So if you don't know what the story is about, there's a bit of a few layers to unpack, but we will get there. It's pretty simple once you see it all, but explaining it takes a little bit of time, so give me a second. We follow a girl in present day named Stevie Bell. She is going to this boarding school in the mountains in Vermont, and she is obsessed with true crime, and specifically obsessed with the crime that happened at this boarding school she is attending in the 1930s. So in the 1930s, there was this famous kidnapping of Albert Ellingham, who was the founder of this school. His wife and his daughter were kidnapped, and nobody was ever able to figure out how or why or who did it. There was a lot of ransom money involved and a lot of conspiracies and things, and basically this crime kind of stumbled out of control and has become legendary over the years. And so Stevie Bell is obsessed with trying to solve it. So she's at this school, stuff starts happening that should not be happening, and now not only is she trying to solve the 1930s cold case, she is trying to figure out what the hell is happening at this school currently. It is so good. I love a good boarding school story. I don't know why. I really love boarding schools. Reading about them. I would not have loved going to a boarding school. I am not that kind of person, but reading about boarding schools is so fun. Let me know if you agree. If any of what I said sounds interesting to you, please pick this book up. It's so good. It had so many things that I was not expecting to happen, and I was up at midnight texting my friend who wants to read but doesn't read, that I was talking about earlier, and I was like, oh my god, did you get to the part about? And she was like, yes, oh my god, what did you think? It was so fun. So the next book that I read was actually the second book in the Truly Devious series, and that is The Vanishing Star by Maureen Johnson, which I also buddy read with that same friend. I got this one on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy to hold up here, but I'll put a little photo here like I used to. This book was really good too. It probably wasn't as good to me as the first one. I feel like the first one, you just didn't know what you were going into, and just hearing about how the case was unfolding was really interesting. The second one, you kind of knew what was happening, so it wasn't as thrilling, but there were still so many twists and turns and so many questions I have by the end of it that I really need to know what is going to happen in this third book, and I regret reading this early so much because it doesn't come out until January of next year, and I'm still reeling thinking about it. I know I read in some reviews that some people guessed what the end was before it happened, and I didn't. I was actually between one of two endings for this particular thing that I'm talking about. If you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. I was between one of two endings happening, and one of the ones that I thought was right, but I was still so conflicted that I don't think that I solved what had happened. I'm not saying that I predicted it, but other people did. So if you're one of those people who tends to get endings to books correctly, then you might not find this as enjoyable as I did, but I still really love this book. And the ending, like I said, left me reeling. Oh my god. If you've read The Vanishing Star, let me know down below what the heck you think happened. I just want to know what, I already forgot her name, but the professor who Stevie was like interning with or assisting or whatever her name was, what does she have to do with this stupid book? That's all I want to know. That I have so many theories and I want to know what is gonna happen. This is why I don't like these kinds of books. No, I'm just kidding. This happens in so many like YA books, like the cliffhangers and the suspense and you don't know. It's just not typically a genre that I normally reach for, but now I know that I was incorrect and I do actually enjoy them, and I would be very happy to pick up another YA thriller, mystery sort of thing in the future. So if you've got any recommendations, let a girl know down below. And so the next book slash series again that I want to talk about, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I've recently read this. That is The School for Good and Evil. I read books 1, 2, and 3, and I stopped after 3 because it seemed like there was like a good like ending point. It was kind of like if you've read The Mortal Instruments and you know that it was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and so it has a really good like, you know, end to the first like 3-book arc that happened there, and then she was like, psych, I got a deal for 3 more books, let's keep going. That's kind of what this feels like, so that's why I stopped after book 3, because it seemed to have that good like 3-book arc closure at the end, even though there are 2 more books that have been published since then, and I think a 6th is on the way. So if I'm not mistaken, I will be reading those in the future, just not right now. This is a book that I've had on my shelf for probably over a year now, and I've been meaning to read constantly because I've just heard so many good things about it, but I just now decided to pick it up for literally no reason other than that I was bored one night and I decided to read, and this just stood out to me on the shelf, so I was like, hey, why not? If you don't know anything about this is a middle grade book, so I do love middle grade books. They are very fun sometimes, even though they are at times a little bit childish, but I do enjoy that. The premise of this book sounded super interesting to me, and now that I know more about it, I would have been more inclined to pick it up had I known more about it. So let me go ahead and give you a little spiel here. If you don't know anything about this book, we basically follow 2 girls, Sophie and Agatha, who live in Gavaldon. Gavaldon? I don't know how you pronounce it. In this town, there is this thing that happens every 4 years where the shadow will come and kidnap 2 children and take them into the woods, and they are never seen again. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that, because there are rumors that this shadow is taking these kids to what is called the School for Good and Evil, where in the School for Good, you will be trained to be a prince or princess and live out your fairy tale, and in the School for Evil, you will be trained to be a villain and will have to try to thwart the fairy tales and blah blah blah. And so basically the history is that all of these fairy tales that you read, like Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk and Red Riding Hood, they all started in the School for Good and Evil. That would have gotten me to start reading this a lot sooner had I known. The premise of this book revolves around that, but more specifically these 2 girls. So Sophie has always dreamed about being kidnapped, taken to the School for Good. She feels like she's a princess. She goes around and purposely does good deeds in her mind to be taken to the School for Good, to be considered good, to be a princess. And she purposely befriends this girl, Agatha, who lives in this graveyard with her mom, because she thinks that that will be a good deed to get her into the school. She's like, oh, you know, if I befriend this outcast girl, then I'll be a good person by giving her a friend and I'll be taken to be a princess. That's not how this works. So the shadow does come for Sophie. The shadow takes Sophie, but Agatha goes after her, and they both get taken to the School for Good and Evil, where Agatha is placed into the good castle and Sophie is placed into the evil one. The stories have flip-flopped, and these girls are trying to figure out what the is happening. Like I said, there are times where this book is a little bit childish because it is meant for a younger audience, but trust me when I say just roll with it, and it's so cute. It has one of those romances in it, and I don't want to give anything away, but it has one of those romances that you really like by the end. Oh my god, I think there's a bug on my floor. Oh, okay, hang on a second. I gotta kill the bug. Crisis averted. Anyway, where was I? So it has one of those romances that you expect, and you're just kind of like waiting and 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 waiting for it to happen, because all of the signs that none of the characters see are pointing in that direction, and you're waiting and waiting, and when it finally happens, it is beautiful. I mean, there's lots of problems with it, but it's beautiful. For me, the first book was my favorite. The second one was also pretty good, and the third one was okay. I gave it 4 stars because I did enjoy it, but there were parts that I felt like kind of dragged on, and it was like is this ever gonna end? Also, I know I've said that this is cute like 1,000,001 times. It also has its very dark moments, and in addition to that, there are times where I felt kind of annoyed because the characters would learn this lesson, like, you know, friendship is better than love, like friendship is true love, like that kind of thing, but then would forget that like 6 pages later and then continue to fight and then would learn the lesson again, and then the same thing would keep happening in a cycle until finally at the end, an event that wasn't much bigger than any of the events that happened in the beginning of the book where they learned the lesson the first time finally made them see the lesson come full circle, and then they did what they were supposed to do. So there were times when it was a bit monotonous and it was a bit like reading the same thing over and over, but the world itself and the plot, like the thought behind it with like the fairy tales and everything, made me keep wanting to read because I thought that was a really, really interesting take, and I really liked the way that he was going with it. So I do recommend this series. There are a few issues I had with it, but I had a really fun time reading it, so I can recommend. So those were the books that I've recently read, which totaled to a whopping 5 books in the past month, which I think is pretty good. But in addition to that, I have been currently rereading a book in preparation for something that I am very excited to share with you, but cannot share with you yet because I am working on something with someone else in the month of October, so that will be shared soon. Hello there, this is future editing Ashley having to fix my video with what I said 2 weeks later because I waited so long to edit this. What I said is not true because this has been shared now, so it is not a secret. Fierce Reads is hosting a Renegades trilogy read-along to prepare for book 3, Supernova, coming out soon. I am going to be one of the hosts, which means I'm uploading a recap video for the last third of Arch Enemies toward the end of October. More information will be in the link down below if you are interested, if you want to read Renegades for the first time, if you want to reread it with me. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy that they reached out to me because I freaking love this trilogy. If you guys already know, you know. Anyways, it's gonna be a fun time. Definitely check out the link below with like the schedule and all the information. There are going to be giveaways happening. I am going to be doing a giveaway, so definitely keep an eye out for the video. But yeah, I just had to fix my mistake, so back to the video now. And in addition to that, I'm actually going to start, hopefully, this other project that I had thought about starting earlier on in the year. This is all of me. The second project is all me, by the way. And then I never got around to it, but I'm really hoping to start a series on my channel that I can actually keep up with. So maybe you'll be looking forward to that, which will also get me to read some other books. I guess the end of this video is just full of like secrecy, but y'all are just gonna have to see. That's what's been up with my life. All right, well, so I think that is all that I am going to talk about in this video. Like I said, I do have some plans for the future, and I'm really hoping that I can finally get those videos out and up so that you guys can watch them and follow along with me a little bit more. I apologize for taking the break again, but I really needed that, and I'm really glad that I did because I feel a lot more like ready to take on my channel again. So I hope you guys are interested in seeing some new videos because I'm interested in making them. If you have any suggestions for me as to what you want to see, please leave them down below. I am always brainstorming new ideas, and that is the one reason why I did take the break, was because I felt like I was hitting a creative wall all the time. I felt like I couldn't think of any cool videos to put up. So if you guys have anything you want to see, like anything at all, just let me know. Like, I keep a list of all of these things, and at some point something might inspire me in another way, so just let me know. Anyway, so I think that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for keeping up with me and for putting up with me during that small creative block break I took, and I will catch you later.